something that I hear that women struggle with a ton is ditching diets and going through the intuitive eating process. Maybe they've read the book or gone through the workbook, and maybe they've worked with a counselor, or maybe they've gone about it on their own. But what they feel is that they are feeling really chaotic and haphazard with their eating, especially in the beginning. And they crave the structure of dieting, but they want food freedom. They don't want to be on a diet anymore. They want the freedom of having freedom with food, but freedom feels a little bit overwhelming and a little bit chaotic. Living a healthy, balanced life is no small feat, especially when you're a mom. With meals to cook, laundry to load, work to do, and humans to raise, it can be easy to feel like we're in an on-again, off-again relationship with healthy living. But it doesn't have to feel this way. I believe living a healthy life has become way too complicated. What we need isn't a new plan or program telling us what to eat or how to live. We need simple, uncomplicated routines and information that's going to help us live our best, most beautiful life without rules and restrictions. Join me, Kristin Dovbniak, holistic health coach, certified intuitive eating counselor, and mama of two, for weekly conversations on what it means to live a healthy, balanced life, uncomplicate eating, and simplify in every area of mom life. Hey friends, welcome back to the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. Kristin Dovbniak here, holistic health coach and your host. And today I want to talk with you guys, have a little bit of a heart-to-heart about something that has been on my mind and on my heart for several months now, especially working with the women that I work with in coaching, in group coaching, and in our community as a whole over on Instagram and Facebook. And this is just something that I've heard women struggle with a ton. And it's something that I really want to provide some clarity about. Because something that I hear that women struggle with a ton is ditching diets and going through the intuitive eating process. Maybe they've read the book or gone through the workbook, and maybe they've worked with a counselor, or maybe they've gone about it on their own. But what they feel is that they are feeling really chaotic and haphazard with their eating, especially in the beginning. And they crave the structure of dieting, but they want food freedom. They don't want to be on a diet anymore. They want the freedom of having freedom with food, but freedom feels a little bit overwhelming and a little bit chaotic. Having the ultimate choice to eat whatever they want to eat, whenever they want to eat it, can feel a little bit overwhelming. And the reason why I really wanted to share this with you guys is because I felt the same way in the beginning. And it was something I think I didn't really want to admit for a while. As an Enneagram 1, as someone who thrives off of routine, feeling like I wasn't allowed to have any routines or any structure to my eating in the process of intuitive eating felt really overwhelming. And even though it felt, very exciting, I think, in the beginning, because I was so sick of this diet mentality and being in this place of restricting myself and then oftentimes binging, what I call the restriction rebellion cycle, and feeling that guilt and shame over eating foods I thought I wasn't supposed to eat. I was over it. I wanted freedom with food. So in the beginning, it was exciting, but then it quickly became overwhelming when it felt like such a decision every single time I went to eat. But here is what I learned. The opposite of dieting doesn't need to be chaos. And intuitive eating doesn't mean you can't have any structure in your life. It's about gentle, flexible structure that serves you and your goals of living a healthy, balanced life. Just having structure doesn't need to be rigidity. And I think that what we think of oftentimes is like dieting is on one side of the pendulum, and the other side is this chaotic, haphazard, eating everything you want whenever you want it side of things. And we go from this place of dieting, of restriction, of shoulds and shouldn'ts and rules around food, and we swing all the way to the other direction. And that's where we feel like, oh my goodness, this is overwhelming. I've got to go back the other way. But what I want to offer you today is a middle ground where you can have gentle, flexible structure that serves you, that serves your body, that makes you feel good without feeling that rigidity or needing that rigidity of going on a diet, because we know that diets don't work long term. They don't help us create healthy habits, and they also don't provide us freedom with food. But freedom with food does not need to look chaotic and haphazard as well. Structure does not need to be rigid. But healthy living, let's be honest, it also doesn't happen by accident. Will your body crave foods other than cookies and ice cream when you work on the intuitive eating process? Absolutely. But if you never try new things and you never make an intentional shift towards balance, especially if you're not used to eating nutrient-dense foods, you didn't grow up that way, you'll never know what it feels like to eat those foods. Intuitive eating is the path to ditching diets and creating a healthier relationship with food. But there's a reason that in my course, Un-Complicated Eating, I also go into what it takes to become a balanced eater. So I help you ditch the diets. I help you release the food rules, overcome emotional eating, learn how to trust your body again, respect your body really well, but also develop the routines and rituals necessary to live a healthy, balanced life on your own terms. Because truthfully, the goal of intuitive eating isn't necessarily to be an intuitive eater. The book describes it as being a normal eater, but I don't necessarily like the term normal eater because there is no normal when it comes to eating. We all are going to end up in a different place. Our healthy balance, what I love to call our beautiful balance, looks different for everyone. What many people think of intuitive eating to be is it's either this like chaotic, haphazard relationship with food, or it's this thinking about what you eat all the time and oftentimes turning intuitive eating into another set of rules. So that is the way that I swung in these early stages of intuitive eating. It felt very chaotic and very haphazard, and I thought that I just needed to intuitive eating harder, and it turned into another set of rules. So what I want to provide for you today is that middle ground where intuitive eating doesn't need to be looked at as a set of rules, as, having to follow the principles to a T in order to be an intuitive eater. It also doesn't need to feel chaotic and haphazard and, just relying on feeling without any knowledge or effort towards health, because health is a part of intuitive eating. What's important is how you go about healthy changes without rules and rigidity, but with flexibility and the goal ultimately of finding your beautiful balance. So what I want to share with you today is the concept of balanced eating. I define balanced eating as where this intuitive connection with your body meets intentional routines for living a healthy life. I don't like to go into specifics about what living a healthy life means. There are tenets. We know that eating more vegetables is good, for example. I talk about eating more real food, but we're all different. And our balance looks different for each and every one of us. And that is why the intuitive connection with your body is so important. But what I see so many women struggle with is having that intuitive connection with your body without any routines. It feels chaotic and sometimes overwhelming because healthy living is difficult without any simple routines. Things like grocery shopping to stock your fridge with foods that actually feel good, planning meals to include a variety of food groups, eating meals that are balanced, and learning what a balanced plate looks like for you. This doesn't mean portioning out everything that you eat. It means making sure that you are eating the foods that help your body to thrive by having the routines in order to stock those foods and have those foods in your house, and to really spend the time to learn what feels good in your body and what living a healthy, balanced life looks like for you. Many of the women who are in this place of feeling like intuitive eating is too chaotic and too haphazard crave this structure. They crave the structure of meal planning, having a grocery shopping list all set out for them, having things prepped ahead in their fridge. And what this does is drive them back to dieting. Because if we introduce too much structure too soon and we develop routines without that intuitive connection and without a healthy relationship with food, Either we turn intuitive eating into that sort of a diet where the principles are followed to a T like rules and it feels rigid all over again, or you go back to dieting, or you might get into a routine, but you don't feel great. And without having that intuitive connection to your body, you don't know how to approach changes without dieting. So dieting feels like the only answer, even though you might know that they don't work and they haven't worked in the past. And by worked, I mean actually lasted in the past. So what do? This is what I want to share with you. This is balanced eating. It's that middle ground between chaos and rigidity. You can make gentle shifts towards flexible structure that will help you to live the healthy life you desire, to find the foods that feel good for you. But it's important that we have both sides of the coin here. That we have that intuitive connection with our body, that we have a healthy relationship with food first and foremost, but then that we also develop the routines and rituals necessary to learn what foods feel best in our body and to keep those foods on hand, to keep those foods stocked so we can make the choices that are right for our body on a regular basis, because it doesn't happen by accident. We need to provide ourselves with the opportunity to eat and live in a way that feels good. So let's talk about a few gentle shifts that you can make towards becoming a balanced eater. If you are in a place where dieting still feels like the way to a healthy life, even though it hasn't worked in the past, it hasn't lasted in the past, exploring intuitive eating is essential. So I recommend you read the book. They just came out with the 4th edition in June. Go through the workbook or join my course, Intuitive Eating, to ditch diets, overcome emotional eating, learn how to trust your body again, and really develop that intuitive connection before creating those routines and rituals for a healthy life. When eating feels free, but maybe a little bit chaotic, we can then introduce some gentle structure to come back to balance, so the pendulum swings somewhere in the middle instead of from one extreme to the next. So start with a list of meals that you love or a list of meals you want to try if you want to start including new ingredients, or maybe try including more real food into your life just to boost the nutrient density of your foods. You can create that list and create a flexible meal plan, even if you're just starting with a couple days each week. I always recommend maximum planning 5 days a week so you have the flexibility of having a couple days where you might want to grab takeout, order a pizza, go out to eat, see a friend, have leftovers. Providing intentional flexibility is really important to allowing intuitive eating to be a part of meal planning, but meal planning is really important to have a little bit of structure in your week to make sure that you go to the grocery store, you have the foods on hand that are going to make you feel good, and you have options to actually prepare those foods. You're not just wasting money and wasting food by having foods on hand and not knowing how to put them together. Then you can create a routine of grocery shopping that doesn't feel stressful and leaves room for choice, but intentional choice. So I like to create a grocery list first and foremost off of my staple grocery items, the things that I buy every week, the things that I know make me feel good, the things that I know my kids and my husband eat every week. And then I also like making sure that I have the ingredients on hand for the meals on my meal plan, and then leaving a little bit of space to pick up a couple items that just sound good to me too. That's how I bring a little bit of intentional choice into that as well. And then if you want to take it further, if you feel like you never have food on hand to throw together, if you live a very busy life like most of us do, you can do some light meal prep to have ingredients on hand to easily throw together meals. Just like with nutrition, there is no one-size-fits-all way to meal plan, to grocery shop, and to meal prep. And it's why I share different styles of meal planning and meal prep, because they are game changers when it comes to making healthy living feel easy and not feel like a stress or a burden or throw you back into a place of dieting because they feel so overwhelming doing them yourself. So my course, Healthy Mama Meal Prep, walks you through the entire process of learning how to meal plan in a way that works for you and your family, grocery shop in a way that is less stressful and more strategic, and meal prep in a way that works for your unique life. I share 3 different ways to meal prep, plus a couple bonus tips as well if those ways need a little bit of tweaking. Because just like with eating, I want you to find your beautiful balance of living a healthy life that feels good, that feels easy, that feels natural. The life that took me so many years to come by. I want to give you the tools through my courses, through this podcast, through everything I share on social media to make living the life that you want to live, this healthy, balanced life, a reality without feeling like it's one extra stress. So I hope this was helpful for you today. I hope this provided you with some insight into what it means to be a balanced eater and maybe a few tips for how you can start to bring some gentle structure into your routine so intuitive eating doesn't feel so chaotic and haphazard, but it's also providing you with some intentional choices and flexibility so that this is something that you can pursue in the long term and you're not swinging back and forth between rigidity and chaos anymore. I would love to hear your feedback on this episode. If you have comments, if you have questions, connect with me on Instagram. I'm at HealthyMamaChris. You can always send me an email, chris@healthymamachris.com. I will provide links for everything that I shared in this episode in the show notes. And I can't wait to catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. If you loved it, would you take a screenshot and share it with a friend over on Instagram and tag me in it? It helps me so much to know what you love and are taking away from each episode. If you really loved it, would you hop over to iTunes and give me a star rating and review? Every rating and review helps this podcast be seen and heard by more women who need to hear the message of balance and wellness without deprivation. It's the best free gift you could give me. And as a reminder, the information and opinions on this podcast are meant for education and inspiration only and are not to be taken as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult with a trusted practitioner before making any changes. Have a beautiful day, friend, and I'll see you in the next episode.